rented a stage outside. They have like this boombox truck where they take it to. And there he was, and I was covering it. And then I was among those journalist names. So suddenly I was drawn into the middle of it, from audience right to being an actor. And it really made me think very, very deeply about where we are and why this why this kind of journalism is so tantalizing. So I prepared a few thoughts. So I think it's wonderful that you're going to spend a couple of days making journalism in a theatre with artists. Because there's the promise of story and of narrative and of character and of plot and the opportunity to touch hearts and minds, which I think we've forgotten a little bit. So I've certainly forgotten it. So much of what I feel I do today is back to the resistance journalism I started doing in the early 90s. It was designed to expose, it was very didactic, and it's often angry, and it's that again. And I've forgotten how to tantalize, how to depose, how to talk, how to dialogue, not monologue. So I have to say, though, that I'm very proud of where South African journalism finds itself today. That we helped to turn around, for me, and we can talk about it, a story of capture where our very democracy was, I believe, under threat in the past 10 years of what has been a kleptocracy. And the anatomical unpacking, largely by the Daily Maverick and by Amma Bongani and by colleagues at News 24, is widely regarded as having been part of that story of resisting state capture. So journalism as an institution is in fine fettle, and I think there's nobody who would disagree that it's an essential part of our democracy. Even the massive debate today between the EFF and the media fraternity as a whole tells you about the important important place of our craft in our democracy. So it's been particularly it's a cauldron of a week. I believe the EFF has moved from exciting to the beginnings of a fascist enterprise, and I'm happy to talk more with you about why I think so. And for that reason, I think it's very important that you're going to begin to think of a new kind of journalism, because I think that the old ways are not talking to everybody. I think we're seeing new developments, new arenas that we need to think about, like in an era of trolling armies where the loudest voice is the most persuasive. What's the work of practitioners like all of us to undercut that? In an era of disinformation, can we bring something different to the table? In a time of narrative control, I've been really interested to see how quickly the language of mob, of cabal, of Stratcom, of Ramaphosa Defence Force, how easily it's deployed and becomes very real very quickly. These are things that I think about securing the agenda and dividing journalists. And I'm looking forward to seeing if we can find new forms that unite us and do different things. So in times like these, I think we risk losing our audience and the fundamentals of our craft, which is why I think it's so timely. I think we've got to expand the boundaries of how we understand journalism, and we've got to break the box of the long story, because too much of our work is, I think, still text-based, and it's extremely long, and it excludes and it can alienate. So I think we have to break narrative structure, and we've got to use all the available elements of these new platforms, as Robin's going to tell us about so excitingly. So what I'm looking forward to is the ability to think again dramatically, to think in a complex, not simplistic form, to think musically and artistically about journalism, and to reverse particularly my own trend back into didactic and angry work. So I really look forward to what we're going to come out of, and hope that it will impact my own practice as well. Thank you.